Welcome back to America Decides. Thanks for hanging out with us. It is rare, I think you'd acknowledge, for President Trump to praise a Democrat, especially in public. But during an Oval Office visit yesterday, he called Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer a, quote, very good person who has done a, quote, excellent job. Earlier in the day, though, the governor, that is State Governor Whitmer, wasn't so generous about the president's approach to tariffs.
I'm not against tariffs outright, but it is a blunt tool. You can't just pull out the tariff hammer to swing at every problem without a clear, defined end goal.
I want to bring in our political panel. Ofirah Yheskel is Director of External Affairs for the Democratic Governors Association. I'm glad to have you here. Kevin Sheridan, back again, but probably only after he heard about the tariff pause. Former spokesman for the Republican National Committee and once a senior advisor for the long-departed Romney-Ryan 2012 presidential campaign. Kevin, good to see you.
Good to see you. Picking
up on the pause.
Yeah.
How much do you think that factored into Republican calculations, specifically in the House, to get the budget resolution passed and know that they're going to have this breathing room where there's no tariff uncertainty while they deal with the hard realities of trying to write that bill?
Yeah, I don't know that the pause necessarily was the catalyst for it, passing the
Didn't
House
hurt, though.
Today, but it doesn't hurt. It gives everybody a little bit of breathing room and gives the stock market a little bit more confidence, although it went down again today a little bit.
Didn't look very confident today, especially when the Dow was down 2,100.
Yeah, so, look, Republicans are going to have to get this passed. I think this, as soon as possible. Their entire legislative agenda and his
but you know as well as I
agenda
do,
weighs on it.
They don't want to have to answer two hard questions at the same time, because they're going to be hard questions about the reconciliation bill, and they didn't want to deal with hard questions about tariffs and the volatility it was causing. They're going to be spared that for 90 days. That's got to be a relief to them.
Yeah, now they're in the let Trump cook phase, and let's see what he can come up with. I expect Bessent has now
the Treasury Secretary.
Yeah, he's at the center stage of all of this. They're going to have to start announcing some deals quickly, though, within the next couple of weeks.
The burden is something that they've themselves
put some more
have
confidence
created.
Back in the markets.
Right.
Make it look like there really is a plan here.
Ofirah, I want to ask you about Jared Polis, the Colorado Democratic governor, because he responded almost immediately to Gretchen Whitmer. Now, all of us in the political reporting world want to find little cage matches for 2028 as soon as we can. It's a small octagon, but it's one nonetheless, where the governor says, hey, tariffs are bad outright because they lead to higher prices and destroy American manufacturing. Do you imagine Democrats are going to start quarreling with themselves or try to focus all the attention on Trump?
I think where Democratic governors are united is doing what's right for the people of their states. So I think Governor Polis has an opinion, and so does Governor Whitmer. But I think they're all in alignment on the fact that Trump's across-the-board approach on tariffs has been disastrous for the American people, and they're the ones who are being hurt here at the grocery store, at the pump, and when we're talking about things like housing and affordability. These tariffs really put a huge impact and cost on that. And you're talking about a 90-day pause, but with Trump, anything can happen. And I think we could see that volatility would continue and that chaos could continue. And I think Democratic governors are the one with a real economic message, and they're the ones who are really fighting to make life more affordable for people in their states. So I think they share that.
Now, you know where the White House has been the last 3 days on this, saying, well, let's go back through some statements from Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, this Democrat, that Democrat, decrying trade imbalances with China. And the White House says they didn't do anything. Now Trump is, and suddenly Democrats are hassling us about that. How would you respond to that line of argumentation from the Trump White House?
I think there's certainly a way to be thoughtful about how we're engaging in trade. Nobody's arguing with that. But I think the way Trump is engaging here, creating a lot of uncertainty across the market, like we saw in the stock market, I think people really don't like that. And I know major CBS were in a poll about this the other day, where voters said they'd rather be focused on lowering prices instead of engaging in these unilateral trade wars with people. And I think people really don't like that uncertainty, whether you're a business owner or you're just a person trying to support your family. When you go to the grocery store right now and you get less when you're spending more, I think that's something that Democrats have no problem messaging on.
Inflation's down.
Right. And I'm glad you brought that up, Kevin, because I was talking to Kelly O'Grady about this at the top of the program. Absent the volatility and the uncertainty around this trade conversation, the market would have been up, and very positively so, probably today, because that inflation print was positive.
Yeah, I think he's signaling he's willing to be chaotic. This is always been part of his plan, a part of his negotiation style. He writes about it in his book. He throws a grenade, sees what everybody does and how they react, and then he starts negotiating. And that's what he's doing here. He can't take too much pain at the stock market for too long, or Republicans will start getting very nervous. But this is part of how he's always negotiated.
And to your point from a moment ago, I want you to carry it a little bit farther if you're willing to. The White House says all these folks are coming beating down the doors to negotiate. If those deals don't look materially different from the things we already do with those countries, what's the political impact of that? Because if this is a national trade emergency, one would think that things would be negotiated fundamentally different, and the fundamentals are just at the margins. How does that land?
Well, I do suspect we have, with our trading partners, some better deals. They're
going to have to be materially different.
Open, some, being able to sell our beef around the world, and so we'll see. The big question is China, and how long can we go tit for tat on a tariff war with China? They buy a lot less from us than we buy from them, so you would think that we could probably last longer than they can.
Yes, but our big companies can certainly last longer. But our small and medium-sized companies that do, because of the profit margin gain from less expensive goods manufactured in China, they're going to be hurt by this.
This is why he's got to rally the entire world, right? This is why it's got to be the world versus China. We're going to get a better trade deal than we have now with the country that abuses their trade the most of anybody in the world. And if we can rally our allies,
Ofirah, you're nodding. You want to jump in? Jump in.
I'm hearing a lot of ifs and buts and coulds, and that's all well and good, but I think what people want to see is action. And that's not what Trump and Republicans are taking. They're creating a lot of, like you said, chaos and uncertainty. And it's people on Main Street who are really caught in the balance here. If you're trying to start a small business right now and you don't have the certainty of whether you'll be able to get the goods that you need at a fair market rate to be able to put your business forward, I think that's a really big question mark in people's lives. And whether you're able to go to the grocery store again and be able to get more with the money that you have is a real big question mark for people. And it goes directly in contrast to what Trump promised he would do on day one, which is lower costs for people. And I think people won't forget that.
2 governor's races coming up later this fall, Virginia, New Jersey. Which is more important?
They're equally important, Major, but we're really excited to make sure to keep New Jersey blue and that we're going to flip Virginia this year. I think we've got a really exciting opportunity to elect a 9th woman Democratic governor in this country, which would be historic for us in Abigail Spanberger.
First in the Commonwealth of Virginia, either way.
Either way, making history, and I think we're really excited about Abigail Spanberger. We've got our general election matchup, and I think we're really, really eager to make the case for why we should
awesome Republican
flip that
candidate
state.
there, though.
Go ahead.
Winsome Sears, African-American, excellent lieutenant governor. I think military veteran. I think she's got a real shot.
And is Virginia or New Jersey a better prism into the midterms in 2026?
Well, if Democrats lose in New Jersey, then they've got real problems. We came close before, but Virginia's probably a little easier to win than New Jersey.
I think the lieutenant governor's got some real baggage. Just the other day, she said these tariffs are good and benefit the Commonwealth. She's also not been a real defender in terms of Virginia jobs. She's really saying that these layoffs that impact Virginia's economy are great for the Commonwealth. I think folks in Virginia who work federal job and are maybe being laid off by Doge and Elon Musk wouldn't agree with her. So I think we've got a real good case to make on the economy and the direction the Commonwealth goes forward.
It's already heating up, folks. You can feel it right here at the table. Ofirah, Yheskel, Kevin Sheridan, thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.